That's kind of the way that I've tried to approach it with WRP stuff, and certainly with Trinity as well. Like, I've kind of never done it for the money. It's like I'm doing it because I'm a bike rider. So I want a product that's going to be really good. But in saying that, I think that's where the most authentic stuff comes, because it's like, well, you're doing it for the right reasons then. But I think a lot of Europeans kind of take it for granted. It's just like, oh, it's just a race down the road and it's a World Cup. It's like, it'll always be there. I could do it next year. Whereas Aussies, desperation is probably the wrong word, but for lack of a better term, it creates a bit of desperation. It's like, if we're gonna do this thing, well, like the Chad Reed type of guys.
Yeah, it's all
or
or nothing. You're burning the boats at some
you
point.
just like, let's just send it.
I met a gypsy.
I think the one that was going in NZ, I think it was 26 grand, the same as this, which is like, what's a brand new like KTM EXC, like 15, 16? Yeah.
Like that. It's
like on the road. Yeah.
And that, honestly though, like, it's crazy because that was one of the big reasons why I wasn't racing downhill anymore.
Yeah.
Because my dad was like, bro, buy a motorbike.
Yeah.
Like for $5 grand. I think I ended up paying $1,500 for my secondhand M1, and I snapped the headset underneath there, or I cracked the swing arm 15 times.
Yeah.
And then it was like $1,500 for that. I was working at Video Easy, and then I went to get another downhill bike, and Dad's like, bro, buy a CRF 250 secondhand, you'll get it for $5 grand.
Yeah.
And then it was cheaper to go and race motocross than downhill. And it's just like, that's insane to me.
Well, my moto, like, not to go off on a tangent too much. Well, but that was very capable. Like, I go down all the trails in Queensland, not as quick as I could on my Trinity downhill bike, but like, that's extremely capable.
Oh yeah, I've even got I'd sold it, but the last bike I had was a stump jumper.
Oh yeah.
And I reckon I could have rode that faster down a downhill track than my old M1 from back in the day.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. But like, on the moto thing, like, the bang for your buck for a moto was pretty bloody good, man. Like, my EXC, like, I don't treat it that good. And like, some of the trails that we've ridden on that, like down the Otways, is as gnarly or gnarlier than any downhill trail I've ever ridden. Like, fucking brutal.
Yeah.
And you just can't break them.
No.
Like, I don't know, like, you can't get up a hill climb or whatever, and the thing will tumble 100 feet back to the bottom, and you can kick it, and it's good as new.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, man. Like, you roll your downhill bike, and it's
doing some damage.
Yeah.
So you bought up this bike. So you were just talking about like.
Yeah. So I did a few days on this in Queenstown, and I had ridden some e-bikes before, but they were all shitters.
Yeah.
And I was pretty fucking impressed with this. Like, dude, I went out. So I flew in. I was pretty tired because I had like red eye flight, whatever. It's like, oh, I'll go shake it off, do some riding. And like, I basically did like half of Everest in elevation just in an afternoon, just like skate shoes, jeans, and just normal clothes on that. And I was like, if you did that much riding, because the chairlift is closed there now, if you did that amount of riding on the chairlift, that would like fill your Sunday. Yeah. Whereas like, I was just pumping out laps on that thing. Again, like, it didn't descend as good as like what my bike did, but the thing is, like, just the efficiency and like the volume.
Yeah, it's
riding.
like pound for pound.
And I think that's where, like, I never really thought about it until a couple of years ago when, like, when e-bikes first came along, people kind of saw them for people who like couldn't ride a normal bike type thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the big one really now is just volume of training for athletes.
Right. I had that the day that they come out, I was like, sweet. I now can, I was doing probably like 150 Ks a week, like in just normal on an acoustic bike, like around the trails. Yep. And it was like, you'd get maybe 3 gravity sort of sessions for like you do 16 Ks or whatever in an Arvo, hour of power after work. Yeah. And then you get 3 downhills. Yeah. But then now on this thing, you're getting 6. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm still cooked. I'm sending 3 or double the amount of downhills. I'm riding up double the amount of hill. I've got a little bit of pedal assist. But yeah, to me, I was all about like, this isn't for people that can't ride. This is for people who want to ride more. Exactly. Yeah. I was shocked because like Queenstown's steep too, right? Yeah. And the other thing is like, they kind of burn you out, but burn you out in a different kind of way. Like, it's more moto tired. Yeah, like you can get very cardio tired, but you don't get, this is just what I found anyway, but like you don't get kind of like
as sore because you got the pedal assist.
Yeah,
you can get the volume up, but not just beating yourself against a wall.
Yeah,
type
it's
thing.
like the lactic isn't building up in the same way.
Yeah. But just the volume, dude. I was very, very impressed. And even like the other thing was the way you look at the trail, like for better or worse, but the way you look at the trail is, I found, just so different on that bike.
Yeah.
Because like prime example, right? So, have you ever ridden in Queenstown?
No.
Before? Right. So, there's this trail. For those that know it, if you've ridden Bubba, and you come out at the end of Bubba, it kind of merges into like this section where a whole heap of trails merge. And coming down adjacent to Bubba is this other track, like called KY, and it's pretty sick, it's like some corners and whatever. And normally, like on an analog bike, you just ride those trails until the merger and then whatever. And I was like 3/4 of the way down Bubba, and then I was like, oh fuck, I kind of feel like doing the bottom of KY.
So you
just went through the scrub and everything.
Yeah.
And just bush bashed and then jumped straight on it. And then I was like, there is no way you do that on a normal bike. So it just changes the way you look at the terrain.
No, I completely agree. And I also think that the first time I rode, Glenn Jacobs actually, he had a bunch of Levos that Specialized first sent him. I actually rode the Cairns World Cup downhill track.
Oh, no way.
On the Levo.
Yeah.
And, but I was amazed at how good it cornered because of the extra weight.
Yeah.
Like you had so much more drive through like the mid-turn, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's funny you mention that, man, because like, and this is getting to a level where like I haven't really done any work with with data acquisition and that, like whereas guys like Loic, like those guys do a lot of stuff with data acquisition and telemetry and whatever, and like Specialized like use ballast.
I was literally just about to say, I bet that if you did a no pedal back-to-back run, then you would probably find that if you had like a heavy weight load like near your bottom bracket, you'd probably go quicker.
Yeah, and particularly like distributing that mass, because like rear center to front center, like getting that balance is super important. I don't think weight necessarily quote unquote matters, as long as the front to back distribution is balanced. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going down a real rabbit hole, but like, like I don't do guys on moto use ballast at all? The bikes are too heavy to begin with.
Yeah, I really don't think so. No.
Yeah, maybe when they make that super light supercross bike.
Yeah, they probably would. Because what would you be trying to do? Like just make sure that the weight is evenly distributed through the bike, or to bring it into the center, or? Yeah,
I mean to bring it into the center, but I guess so you don't have weight bias. So like the front isn't too light compared to the back, and again, this is an area that I'm not that well versed with because I really haven't done much with data acquisition. So guys like Loic or whatever be able to tell you a heap, but like if you have like BYB or whatever, like if you got data acquisition and you've got like a graph of the track like over time, so you've got like if that's graphing what your shock shaft is doing and like what your stanchion is doing on your fork and whatever, so you've got like the pitching of your front and back and all that type of shit, is that you can overlay that say with like chassis sensors and actually tell like what your suspension's doing relative to the chassis. So I guess like you can achieve balance through suspension setup and or like through chassis dynamics as well. So again, without being a super expert on it, I believe that's kind of what they're trying to do, is get like a balanced bike in as many scenarios as they can. So like they would like deviate towards the mean essentially, is that, or go just specific for or like converge on the mean, I guess, but like they would maybe go like, okay, for this track would go to this, for this track would go to that. I reckon, those guys would be doing so much off-season stuff. They would know like what setup is working best for certain tracks and whatever. But certainly to get the weight, roughly speaking, between their legs, get it sitting low. I mean, a bit like a keel on a boat, right? Like, But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. Like, a bike, like generically speaking, like you can pick up a bike. I mean, like like if we had a whiteboard here and I went up and like drew a line on the whiteboard, I think there's something so intuitive to like human subconscious. Like you'd be able to tell whether that line was straight or not.
Yeah.
And like you wouldn't even be able to tell me why it's not straight, but you'd be like, no, I know it's off, dude.
Yeah.
And like I think like for people that have ridden bikes like us, you know straight off whether something's kind of, and like if you just go up and pick up a normal bike, you tell pretty quick like, oh, it's a bit
heavy in the rear, or
Yeah.
you'd feel the weight more in the seat than the
exactly
than the forks.
Yeah. So I think that's largely what guys are trying to do is like have it so like the fork isn't laboring or the shock isn't laboring, like get the chassis very well balanced so your fork and shock are kind of working in unison without choking one up or laboring the other or whatever.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.